Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Monday Night Football, Week 8 got the Giants in Pittsburgh taking on the Steelers. I've got player prop projections and best bets from this one. Also want to run back the giveaway. Still haven't had a winner. So jump in the comments. Let me know who's going to score the first touchdown for each team. Need the first tutty score for each squad. You throw that in the comments, get it right, and I will put you in the raffle to win $100. Also, don't lie to me. I know when you guys are posting these things, so to post after a game ends and then tell me that you got the touchdown scores correct is never going to work. So if that all sounds good to you, go ahead and give the video a like. Let's jump right into it. Quick reminder, as NBA season is back underway, I'm running that live show every single weekday now, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. You guys jump in the comments, bring your bets. We go over all that stuff together. So hope to see you guys there Monday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. For now, we've got the Giants on offense here going up against this Steelers defense. Not a really good looking Giants offense. We can be sure of that. 23rd in passing yards, 24th in the pass EPA. I will say, as far as pressuring the quarterback, Daniel Jones is going to be under fire, maybe the most in the top 3 in terms of getting pressured by the defense. Moving forward, they're just riddled with injuries on the offensive line. Both their starting tackles, their starting center are out. Both their tackles are out for the season as well. Andrew Thomas now out and done. So you saw Philly last week get all that pressure, 8 sacks, living in the backfield next to Daniel Jones. The Pittsburgh Steelers not quite as good in terms of the pressure percentage as Philly is anyways, 24th in pressure percentage, which I know is surprising with TJ Watt there on the defensive line, but he has missed a game and they've been a much better rush defense. Doesn't really matter because the Giants can't run the ball either, to be honest. 25th in rushing yards, 28th in rush EPA, and I don't see that getting better now. They already were 27th in adjusted yards before contact, so their offensive line not getting any push in the run game, and it's going to be tough for Tracy and Singletary to find any running room against a Pittsburgh defense that is second in allowing rushing yards, third in allowing rush EPA, and lives in the backfield on running plays as well, 5th in adjusted yards before contact. Like I said, they don't get as much pressure on the quarterback, so Daniel Jones might have a little bit more, well, he should have more time than he had last week because he had no time, and I would still bank on them needing to rely on the pass game, even if it's not working. On the other side of the ball, interesting numbers because we've got Russ Wilson in at quarterback now. Justin Fields not going to be playing in this one. And they were going to dial up some plays for Justin Fields. They had some packages drawn up for him as the backup quarterback coming into this game. And now he's not looking like he's going to play at all. So it's really just going to be Russ running the normal offense, mostly what you saw last week. 26th in passing yards, but 9th in pass EPA. They just decided to run the ball and had things really, really safe, right? They left it for Justin Fields so that he didn't really have the opportunity to make too many mistakes. They're going to let Russ air this thing out now, and that 9th in passing EPA might drop a little bit in terms of its efficiency, but the yards are going to go up and the deep plays are going to go up for this offense with Russ out there. The Giants have been good on defense against the pass in terms of limiting yards, but teams haven't really had to pass against them because the Giants have been losing most of the time. They've been losing the second most amount of minutes in the games that they played this year of any team in the league. So teams have been running on them as a result, giving up a bunch of rushing yards, but a little bit better against the run than it seems. 19th in rush EPA. It's just, once again, teams are choosing, because of the fact that they're winning against the Giants, to run the ball and not pass it. For the Steelers, I expect that to be a lot of the same stuff here. I think they're going to come out and be able to pass, but they're definitely going to be relying on the run once they get a lead in this game. And I would be looking at some overs in the rushing department. Kicking it off with Daniel Jones in the play of props, but I do want to remind everyone, if you don't want to miss a bet and want every single play that I'm making, head over to the link that's in the description of the video, wap.com, so you can jump in that VIP Discord. Got a nice NBA deal going right now. Season pass for the NBA through this end of this season is 40% off if you want to go ahead and skip the monthly subscription. So jump into the link, the description of the video to get the links for everything you need there. But looking at Daniel Jones, this O-line is beat to shit. It's going to continue to be a problem. We mentioned it already. The Steelers, maybe they haven't pressured the ball quite as much, but they're still going to be able to get to Daniel Jones. If you have any kind of pass rush, you can get to Daniel Jones right now. And he's 24th in QB rating versus the exact defense that the Steelers play. A lot of cover 3 for them this season, running that in the top 5 most in the league right now. So the rushing yards would be a little bit interesting because they do play a little bit drop back further, but they've obviously done a really good job, the Steelers have, of containing quarterbacks, allowing the second fewest rush yards to the position. So normally you'd think of the Steelers and Highsmith and Watt of just crowding the quarterback and forcing him to run out of the pocket, but that hasn't been the case this year as they've done a really good job, like I said, containing the edges. Overall, Daniel Jones is going to be a stay away from me. I think he's going to have to pass a lot because they won't be able to run, but I still don't know that I trust him to have the time, and really his offensive line, to give him the time to get off a good amount of passes to get the yards. As we look at Tyrone Tracy, running back here for the Giants, he doesn't even have any props up. Devin Singletary is the only running back for the G-Men with props up right now, which is interesting because Tyrone Tracy dominated the snap count last week, nearly 72% of the snaps, versus Singletary only had 22% of the snaps. Only out-carried Singletary 6-5, but he was out there way more. They just weren't running the ball because they were getting killed by the Eagles by the second quarter. Tracy actually was a receiver in college, and so is a much better receiver out of the backfield than Devin Singletary, which is what I would be attacking here in this game. Once we know what the props are, anything under 20 yards receiving for Tyrone Tracy, and I'm all over that because they know how good he is. They've even lined him out on the slot and even out wide a couple times because, like I said, he played receiver in college, so he knows what he's doing out there. But any running back that we get a 50-yard rushing prop for, I got to go under. Like, there's no rush block for this team. There's no pass block either, but there's certainly no rush blocking happening for them. So Tracy's not going to be able to find it easy to run against basically the second best defensive rush defense in the league in this Pittsburgh team. So if you see 50 yards rushing for him, I think this is a good opportunity to go under on the rushing, over on the receiving for Tracy. It's going to be tough to pick a Giants receiver that's going to do really well in this game. Malik Neighbors, obviously, we'll talk about him in a second. One of the top receivers, definitely one of the top rookie receivers in the league right now. But Wandale is the guy who gets the short yardage stuff. Really low ADOT at about 4.3 yards. He's like 101st among wide receivers in his average depth of target. But that's okay because he's getting so many targets and so many receptions now that I think the 32.5 receiving yards is a good and beatable number. The 4.5 receptions is like minus 160 for him to go over that. I don't want to have to bank on him to get right at 6, although I still think it's likely that he's able to do that. I think the yards are still super low, something he's beaten in 4 out of 6. And this is where you beat this team from. The slot is definitely the weakest point for the Pittsburgh pass defense. Beanie Bishop has a PFF grade of 59. And these corners for the Steelers aren't that impressive regardless, but this is the weakest one for sure against the slot, which is where Wandale runs all of his routes. Honestly, Joey Porter Jr. has not been very good on the outside defending guys either, but Malik, he's a little bit better, I will say, than Beanie Bishop. Malik Neighbors should be able to beat him. I still think you can get an over on Malik in this one, but I prefer Wandale, and I don't want to have 2 when I don't even think Daniel Jones is going to be able to get close to 250 yards passing. But you're talking about a guy who does have the number 1 target share in the NFL, even though Wandale had 1 more target than him last week. He didn't have time. Daniel Jones didn't have time to get the ball to Malik Neighbors. He should have a little bit more time this week. I'm still not confident in his ability to get enough time to throw deep balls, but he's going to be trying to force it to Malik Neighbors. Just talking about another 8 targets for the dude, right? So if he's able to haul in 5 of those with as high of an ADOT and average yards per attempt that he has, he should be able to get he's close to 20 yards per reception at this point with the amount of targets. Like, that should be good to get about 70 yards, at least 60 yards. Now he's at about 67. So once you get to about 70 yards, it starts to make me feel a little bit queasy to take an over for Malik Neighbors. That's why I went with Wandale with a much more beatable number, but I'm certainly not fading this dude in this game. Other side of the ball, looking at Danger Russ now and his passing yards. Super beatable number. If you go back to last season now, this is 4 straight games that he's played where he's gone over 200 yards. In fact, gone over 220 yards in all those games. So he still has a beatable line at about 205 passing yards. Thing is you don't have to pass the ball if you don't want to very much against this team. And I can see them choosing to run the ball a ton. So if they do that, which is what teams have done against this Giants team, they are 8th in terms of limiting passing attempts, 6th limiting passing yards. But we've talked about it. It's not really how good they are at passing defense. It's much more how bad they are at rushing defense. And so teams are choosing to control the clock against them because the Giants have been losing for most of the season, as I mentioned earlier as well. They are also leading in sacks. So neutralizing the sack, the blitz, and the pressure that they're going to bring, which is the only real positive attribute about this Giants defense, is their ability to get to the quarterback. Well, you neutralize that with RPOs with Russ, or more likely just run the ball, some draw plays with Najee Harris, things of that nature that should open up the middle of the defense. And that's where I'm going to go. I don't think Russ is a bad play if you wanted to play an over for him, but there's better bets in this game. Like this one, like Najee Harris, rushing yards, very beatable number against a very bad defense. He's gone over in 5 of 7 for where his rush yards prop is here, averaging 68 per game, and that's about 63.5 rushing yards for him on the prop right now as I'm recording this on Sunday night. So it's a pretty beatable number. If you look at the 2 unders, it's really just about the attempts. 13.5 attempts in those 2 unders, and 5 overs, 18 attempts, right? And so if they're going to be able to give him the ball, which they should be able to have success against this Giants defense, then I think he's going to be good to go. And I double checked. What's interesting is Jaylen Warren actually played in the overs and sat in the unders for Najee. So he's really not chewing into Najee's attempts or his usage, anything like that. Najee still with a much higher snap share. And you're seeing Jaylen Warren out there for receiving more than anything, right? Running more about the same amount of routes as Najee on many fewer snaps. So he's going to be the receiving out of the backfield. Najee should be doing the bulk of the rushing once again. But I do think Jaylen Warren receiving is a look. It's 2.5 for plus money if you want to take the receptions. It's only like 13.5 receiving yards. And I think the yards are a slightly better play than the receptions for him. The Giants are allowing the 9th most receptions to running backs, also in the bottom half in terms of limiting yards to the position as well. So you're going to see Jaylen Warren probably get about 3 to 4 targets in this one, and 3 receptions should be doable on 3 targets. I just think the yards are a safer play for him because this linebacking core is terrible for the Giants. When they're left in one-on-one coverage, this is one of the worst linebacking cores in pass coverage, and that's going to be to the benefit of a guy like Jaylen Warren. So how can I justify taking an over on George Pickens receiving yards? Because Deonte Banks isn't very good, and this Giants secondary is awful. Let's put it that way. It's also banged up. The ageless Adoree Jackson probably not even going to play in this one. So they're looking like they're going to continue to be a porous pass defense. And George Pickens, they've been trying to get him the ball. I mean, Fields threw him the ball. He had 7.5 targets per game with Justin Fields. Just Fields was in the bottom 5 in the league in terms of his efficiency numbers, especially on the play action, which is a really important play for this team. He was 32nd among quarterbacks in completion percentage off of the play action. Russ already beat that last week with about a 70% completion percentage on those plays. And I think he's going to continue to have that success with George Pickens, which Russ has been one of the best deep ball players in the league, even when he was having bad seasons. So we know that if you put a dangerous receiver like George Pickens in front of him, he's going to have success. And Pickens, all he's done this season as a deep threat is 5th in target share, 5th in air yards, 4th in deep targets. So they're trying to get him the ball. He has a lot of unrealized, top 3 in unrealized air yards as well, because Fields could not put the ball in the right spot on those deep throws. Last week, we see one game of Russ, a 54-yarder that they connect on, 111 yards for George Pickens in that game. So with this matchup, a 48 PFF grade for cornerback Deonte Banks. God love him. He's getting torched. He's got about 14 yards per reception against him. He's got like a 66 completion percentage against him, and he's getting targeted a lot by the number 1 receiver on the outside. That's going to be George Pickens in this one. I think this is a ladder opportunity play for the man as well. Quick reminder about Outlier.bet, the best tool around, the one I'm using to find all the stuff that I'm giving you guys here in these videos. If you do want to check it out with a 7-day free trial, head over to the link that's in the description of the video. You can get 7 free days, see if you like it. One-stop shop for all the research and bets that you would want to make. So definitely check that out. Make sure you jump in the comments. Let me know who's going to score the first touchdown for each player, so you're eligible to win the $100 if you get it right. And until I see y'all next, happy betting.